Welcome everyone to the Baby Playbook podcast. It's so great to have your company for another episode, and I'm really excited about this episode because I think this is one of the areas that parents get most nervous about once they bring home a newborn baby, and it's also something that we get a lot of presents and gifts surrounding, but you never really know what you'd like to use with your baby. And what I'm talking about is baby skincare and caring for your baby's skin and bath time and all that really kind of fun stuff that you get to do with your newborn. It's kind of the first activity that you can do with them in a sense, but it can also be really nerve-wracking, especially for first-time parents. I remember the first bath I did at home with Noah, my husband and I swear we were both panicking about all different things, the temperature, what should we use, how long should he be in there? There were so many questions. So I'm really excited to be joined by Catherine Cervasio, who is the founder of AROMABABY, and they've been in this game for such a long time, providing amazing kind of skincare and bath products for babies, and not just babies as well, for mums as well. And she's such a leader in her field, a qualified aromatherapist and a trained infant massage instructor as well. Catherine, thank you so much for making the time to join me.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I first wanted to ask you, I guess, what made you get into this area? What I guess your background, as explained before, but why are you so passionate about baby care?
I guess I was always passionate about natural products, and I was the kind of teenager that was mixing face masks and body scrubs using avocado, yogurt, oatmeal, you name it. I actually did start there as a teenager, so it's no surprise I ended up in the industry that I'm in. I was developing product for retailers like Sportsgirl in my 20s, and around that time there was an emergence of natural ingredients. And I remember going to my boss and saying, could I offer some Sportsgirl skincare because I was doing accessories? And he said, sure. So I took that account from $100,000 to $1 million per annum, and the rest is history. That company closed down. I was expecting my first baby and I thought I would continue with skincare, but then my whole focus shifted to baby care. And I started looking at what was on the market and comparing it to the information I'd already had about the importance of natural ingredients and the role that they could play. I couldn't believe there was actually no natural baby care at the time. So I'm talking 32 years ago. Lots of things launch and say, I can't find any natural products, but there are a ton of products around now. 32 years ago, I can guarantee there were no natural baby care brands in Australia. So I thought I really wanted to change that. And as I got more into my pregnancy, I became more passionate about offering parents a choice and making a difference in my own little way.
Amazing. I absolutely love that. And especially kind of coming in from your background as well. And I think, as parents, you get this complete perspective change as well, where everything kind of becomes so important with your kids. So it's nice to know that that's where kind of that seed started for you as well. Well, let's get into some of these questions that I know a lot of parents would have when it comes to baby skin and baby skincare. First of all, how can we understand that baby skin is a little bit different to ours? What's the difference there, and what should we really be aware of?
I guess the biggest thing is that the babies are born with immature skin and skin barrier. So it's 20 to 30% thinner than an adult's. It absorbs more easily because it doesn't have that skin barrier the same way as an adult does. So I think, because it's more permeable, the ingredients that we are using in our products, the products that we are putting on our baby, are penetrating more readily. And this, unfortunately, can lead to allergies and sensitivities. And in fact, the Murdoch Institute at the Royal Children's say that I think it's 1 in 3 babies develop eczema in the first year of life. So what we put on our infant skin can be a precursor to adult eczema and sensitivity. So it's really, really important to look at what products you're using and look at the ingredients in the products.
Yeah, of course. And we can talk about experience as well in a little bit later in the podcast, because I know that's a big one for parents being, with babies and having such sensitive skin. I guess the first thing, though, when it comes to baby skin with parents, and I mentioned it before, is when you get home and you need to give your baby a bath. And I think there's a lot of weird information here. I know when I was in the hospital, I think around 3 or 4 different midwives told me different times at which I should give my babies baths and how frequently and all that sort of stuff. I'd love to get your advice here on, first of all, when should we give them that first bath? And 2, how frequently should we be bathing them?
So in my opinion, and based on the research, it's sparingly. So it's water first, water only, and I'm a big advocate for a water only sort of plan. Despite having a skincare product company, we do look at research, and we do talk about what does the research recommend as a best practice for babies. So I know that in hospital they tend to bath the babies within 24 hours. It's not absolutely necessary, but I guess it's, particularly if there's been a natural childbirth and they don't want to have, the vernix left on. But that actually does provide a protective coating. So if they can delay the first bath for a couple of days, that is ideal. And certainly some midwives will do that. But generally, it's within the first 24 hours. So if that first bath is product free, that's amazing. We also understand that parents, particularly mothers, love to use product. So at least if they're going to use something, that they use something sparingly, something unscented, and something specifically formulated for infants. Obviously, I'm a big fan of natural organic. I did look, at the potential allergy triggers and things 32 years ago. Petrochemicals, parabens, sulfates, propylene glycols, silicons, artificial fragrance, colour, and then later goat's milk, dairy, lanolin, and lots of other ingredients. That information was already there 30 odd years ago. So I simply left it out of my formulations to give parents a choice. So if they can delay that first bath, if they can choose products that are bland, have very simple ingredient lists, and preferably no smell, even though I'm an aromatherapist, and their aromatherapy is amazing. It has its place in baby care as well as lots of other areas of life. But unless it is properly formulated, I believe, by an aromatherapist, the pure essential oils have to be specific oils, specific percentages from specific regions, then don't use any essential oils either.
That's really great advice there. And I want to hone in on these products. And you could probably give a little bit of information here about AromaBaby and what's I guess so different about your product and why it's I guess formulated for babies, especially newborns, because I know a newborn skin is very different to 6 month, 1 year down the track as well. So talk us through, I guess, the product and what we should be looking out for if we are flipping it over and having a look at the ingredients as well. I'd love to kind of know, what your advice is to parents as to maybe even what they should be avoiding.
Yes. So, look, a lot of the allergy triggers are those ingredients I just mentioned. I think in terms of bathing, surfactants, so it's a surface active agent. It's the detergent, if you like. It's the thing that pulls away the fat from the skin and creates the cleansing action. So we want to look at gentle surfactants that are natural, coconut based. We want to look at low foaming products, because the more detergent or foam, generally the higher the surfactant level, and potentially the more dehydration will occur. And babies actually lose moisture in the bath. So we don't want to over bath. We don't want to use high foaming products. We want to use things that are aroma free or unscented initially. And we want to avoid allergy triggers. So we look at things that have bland formulations, very, minimal ingredient lists. Even some of the natural organic products might have 10 herbal extracts. So to me, that's 10 times the risk of being allergic to an ingredient. So it's really about looking at the research, keeping it simple, and helping parents understand just how to decipher some of these ingredient labels, so that they know the first ingredient in a moisturizer is generally going to be water. Then there will be some oils. Then there will be some active ingredients, an emulsifier, and a preservative. And that's pretty much it. So if we look at something that has maybe the oils first in a wash product, that would ring alarm bells to me. Some of the apps out there are great. Some of the decoders that you can actually scan the barcode and use those to give you a guide or a direction on how natural or not, and therefore perhaps how suitable a product might be. But again, it's not a hard and fast rule. It might come up with low irritant ingredients, but your baby might be allergic to tea tree oil. So I think, even though something could be natural and organic, if it has some of these oils that can trigger allergies, even though they're natural, then they're the ones you want to avoid.
Yeah, okay, that's really good to know. I know the other thing is as well, sometimes we get a lot of these as gifts, especially at like a baby shower. I remember when I started kind of looking into this with Noah, I felt this pressure of using all these gifts because I had been given them and I didn't want to waste money. But then I ended up just using them on myself, just not to waste them and not to put them on the baby. So I thought that was a really good way of kind of, skirting around the fact that
Great idea.
You've been given, I thought, you know what? I can use this as moisturizer. I don't need to put it on the baby right now. So that ended up being quite useful. I want to ask here, Catherine, because I know in my time, Noah's now 5, so this was quite a while ago. And this is the thing with everything baby, it changes so frequently, right? And sometimes the information overload is a lot for parents. But I want to ask about food-based ingredients, because I know when Noah was a baby, one kind of, I don't want to say warning, but one note that I got from my GP at the time was just to be careful about using, as you've said already, kind of all of these products with all these, they could be amazing natural ingredients, but there's so many on there that you're kind of convoluting what you're actually introducing to the baby, and introducing it through the skin may actually be quite detrimental to them later on, because of course with food-based products, you want to introduce it first up through the mouth so that they don't become allergic. Do you know much about this area? Can you explain a little bit about what parents should be aware of?
I guess that is definitely true, like what you're saying. And I think a big one that was in the news a number of years ago was goat's milk, because goat's milk was in fashion at the time. It was the hottest TikTok trend to use goat's milk, everything. But if your baby is immersed in products top to toe, from wash and moisturizer, and in particularly the moisturizer, because it's a leave-on product, then they're going to get a sensitized skin from whatever that ingredient is. So again, yes, introduce it through food after 6 months of age first, and see how that goes. But I think, everything that we do is on the minimal side. We do have our active ingredients, mostly calendula, evening primrose oil, natural vitamin E. We use organic rosehip, but we don't use food-based ingredients as an active, because our actives are in there at a higher percent. Even things like avocado oil. So avocado is obviously a food, but we use it in our skincare as well, in our creams. Now, we've never known that to cause any allergy or any sensitization to avocado oil. But I think the more that time goes on, the more parents are bombarded with information, the more they're afraid to use things. So they revert back to pharmaceutical products, particularly if the baby's got sensitive skin or eczema. Then they do not have confidence in using anything natural other than what perhaps a physician has recommended. And we have a new baby in the family. It's such a beautiful, special time, and I can't believe our little guy has a bit of eczema. And I know firsthand my son and his partner are so nervous to use anything, including my product, because it's been recommended that they use a particular type of emollient. So these emollients are not always suitable for every baby's skin. I'm sorry, I've been in the hospital system for 32 years. I've been in the Royal Children's Hospital dermatology department. I've provided product to the neonatal unit of the Royal Children's. We provide product to numerous maternity hospitals, eczema organisations, and even Icon Cancer Centre. So I know from my own personal experience what things help and work and what things don't. If our products were causing allergies or causing problems, we would know. There would be a higher incident of, reactions and that kind of thing. So to have had our products in those high-level care environments and still have our own family nervous to use them, it's really hard. And I think it's almost made me passionate again to change the way we're educating our new parents and go back to basics, which is what I did in the beginning. I developed the brand to give parents a choice. So if we have this high incidence of allergic reaction and eczema in the first 12 months, and parents are more nervous than ever to use natural alternative products, then what are they left to do? The eczema gets worse. They get put on cortisone steroid creams. They use the pharmaceutical product, which is an inert kind of emollient that's pretty similar to what we do, except ours is petrochemical free, mineral oil free, paraben free, dimethicone and silicon free, and the preservative is organic approved. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, really, I feel so sorry for new parents that we're in this situation where even a trusted brand of 3 decades isn't recommended alongside a commercial mass market, eczema emollient product.
It's very hard, isn't it? Well, when it comes to, I guess, parents being nervous about this, whether it is, maybe have already established that your baby has eczema, or perhaps you're just testing out a new product. Um, what's one way that they can kind of be as safe as possible in terms of introducing it? I know, for example, just testing it out on a small area first. It's a really good tip
Yes.
that people have. What should they be looking out for if there is some sort of reaction?
I think if you're using any product, a pharmaceutical product or a natural product like ours, if you can see that the product is causing a reaction, if the skin is developing red bumps or irritation, dryness, or if there is no improvement, then that's when I would be questioning, perhaps to the GP or pediatrician, could we try something different? Is there a different type of formula, a trusted brand, a trusted product that's been around for a long time, that has a low risk of, a problem? So also, we were actually patch testing at the time on our little guy. So we were using barrier balm on one spot and our Pure Baby Moisture Cream on another spot. And interestingly, I felt that the Pure Baby Moisture Cream wasn't emollient enough. So the barrier balm seemed to have that more. It's definitely a richer formulation, and perhaps that skin needed something a little richer. But you do patch test in a spot where there's no irritation, and watch for the next few hours up to the next 24 or 48 hours, even in some case, to see if there's any allergic reaction. That's the best thing you can do. I mean, if obviously if the rash persists, they need to go back to their GP or their pediatrician to get it checked out, because it can lead to other complications. And certainly if the baby's scratching red, dry, eczema skin, and there's an open spot in the skin, if there's a wound, then they can develop an infection. So it really is, quite an important part of that early baby care routine to keep an eye on the skin and the condition of the skin.
Yeah, certainly. I also want to ask you about baby massage, because that's also something big, that parents really look forward to just before bedtime. You maybe taking the baby out of the bath, and then it's time to, give them a bit of a moisturize, a bit of a massage. Tell me about just how beneficial that is, and how parents should be approaching it.
Oh my goodness. I mean, when I did my training, I had my second baby, and I did a teacher training course, so it was a bit more clinical. But the information that is out there, the research that exists around the benefits of baby massage, not just for improved sleep and a deeper, more restful sleep, improving with colic and wind, the little cycling movements with the legs. Um, you're massaging, it's bonding, it's skin to skin, it's the gaze, which helps their neurological development because you're looking at the baby. And on that note, that's another thing that breastfeeding does, if you can, that skin to skin and the eye to eye gaze, which is helping the brain develop. But I guess there's other things just about, dad can get involved. If there's older siblings, they can get involved with supervised massage, helping to bond with the new addition to the family through these beautiful, special times, and using massage as a medium. My second guy was a bit of a, couldn't sit still. So I remember using it for storytelling. And I used his name as the feature in the story. So he wouldn't lie still. And I would say, once upon a time, there was a little boy called Jacob. And his eyes would, widen, and he would stop and listen with a big grin. So I guess it's about whatever works for you. Once they're mobile, you've got to be, a bit more adventurous with creative ideas to keep them still or to keep them engaged. And I know that my boys loved being massaged. And in fact, I had a milestone birthday. I can't remember how much, maybe I was 40 or something. So my older one was about 10 and my little guy was 4. And I remember we had a massage room at home at that time. And I remember they took me into the massage room and said, Mum, we want to give you a massage. So that was
What a
their way
dream.
of showing me of what a special thing their massage experience was. And I was just blown away. It was so beautiful.
Well, that's really sweet. I love that so
Yeah,
much. Yeah, baby
yeah.
massage is such a fun part of the night, especially for new parents. And, anything that could potentially get them to sleep a little bit longer, I think is worth a try every
Yes,
single night,
yes.
no
And
matter
it's
what.
those long strokes
Yes.
down the limbs, and it's the contact, it's the humming, it's the talking, the gaze, the quiet time, and breathing. So you relax yourself before you massage. You actually have to unwind. to be able to give your best and have that really quiet, beautiful, relaxed energy with them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful kind of bedtime routine as well to get into the night.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Catherine. I love that we can kind of sit down and just ask these questions and get some of this information out there. As I said, information is changing all the time. I know, for example, my mum, when I was bathing Noah, whatever it was, like once a week, she was like, what do you mean you have to bath them every single day? Because obviously at the time she had us, it was different information, right? So
Yes.
it's nice to sit down and kind of get that information from you for all of our parents who are listening and might be a little bit curious as to how to approach this. If you guys would like to keep in contact with Catherine, you can follow her directly on Lady Catherine's Life. That's on Instagram. Or, of course, you can visit her website and her Instagram for Aroma Baby Official. That's where you can have a look at some of her products there as well. Thank you again, Catherine. I appreciate the time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.